Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you specifically about Moises Caicedo and why I want to make this video dedicated to some positive Chelsea talk. I want to give Caicedo the praise that I believe he duly deserves, but as a result of the media agenda, the negativity that has always followed Chelsea since Roman Abramovich took over our club in the year 2003, the moment that anyone at Chelsea does anything even close to being wrong or not good enough, they get pushed under the bus. Caicedo, away at West Ham at the beginning of this season, had a dreadful Chelsea debut. It was a shambles of a debut. But since then, this guy has done nothing but show his class, nothing but climb when it comes to performance levels. Yes, he's not perfect, but I want to tell you what the rest of the footballing media, not all of them, but the majority of them, will forget to let you know. That Moises Caicedo is an absolute Class A baller. And in order today to talk a little bit about Caicedo and why I think, even though all over the field this season there have been holes, there have been issues within this Chelsea team, goalkeeping issues at the start of the season, defensive issues throughout the month of December and parts of this season where we just kept shipping goals. We can't finish our bloody dinner. There's striking issues all over the gaff. It stinks. The midfield, I would say, has been the one shining light on a semi-consistent level from the start of the season to the end of it. As well as that, it's one of the only parts of the field where we don't have stupid amounts of injuries, which in itself is a credit to Gallagher, credit to Caicedo, credit to Enzo. And what I've done here today is I've asked 3 different questions on X, or formerly known as Twitter. What are your thoughts on Conor Gallagher? What are your thoughts on Enzo? What are your thoughts on Caicedo? And of course, whenever you go anywhere near Twitter, you're always going to come across a fair few looking for the right terminology here, but refusing to use it just to be polite. So, of course, when I ask about what people think about Caicedo with like a curious thinking emoji, the immediate response of some, I'm guessing you are thinking he's been crap whilst Gallagher's been good. Yeah, because I was suggesting that, mate, because that second half was quite pathetic. So, a couple of weeks ago, I want to take you guys back. I was saying how I thought Conor Gallagher had been Chelsea's best midfielder this season. And to be quite honest, I still partly agree with that. I think it is between Gallagher and Caicedo, but very quickly in recent weeks, which I've also said many times on the channel, Moises Caicedo's involvement, performance levels, and the way that he's growing into this Chelsea shirt, it's been going seriously upwards. And now I'm sat here thinking, well, I get it. When you have a debut the way that you did, I get the media's going to be on your back. But at the same time, there is that same pocket of media that are not giving him the credit that he absolutely deserves. When you look at the way he played yesterday against Aston Villa, I think he made 95% of his passes. He was absolutely controlling that Chelsea midfield in front of the defence. We defended so well yesterday, and that's a credit to Poch, credit to everybody on the field, because we're playing with 4 centre-backs in a back 4 against one of the top 4 teams in the Premier League this season. So it's a massive credit, but at the same time, because Chelsea are 10th, because we're still not scoring goals, because there's still a lot of questions that need answers, I think a lot of the praise that is deserved, when deserved, doesn't quite come through. And it might even be the same across Chelsea socials. I'm also culpable for this too. I maybe don't give praise as often as I should. And when I think about my own personal feelings towards this team, which is important here before we start looking at what you guys have had to say, my biggest issue with this team has been that as a Chelsea fan who used to go to games home and away, across Europe, whatever, when I moved across the world, there's got to be elements of Chelsea that keep me feeling close to the club, even when I'm not tangibly there. And the issue was that I felt as though there were too many players at this club, too many staff members at this club who just didn't represent what Chelsea meant to me. And Gallagher still is, even if you don't rate him as a footballer, he represents what Chelsea is to me, which is fight, passion, love of the badge, and desire to be a Chelsea player. Now, as a result of the poor performances that we saw before this great run, where we've won 8 of our last 10 games at Stamford Bridge, Gallagher was the only one who I thought was showing any real heart, so by default, he got more praise than some of the other slow burners. Caicedo being one of them. Now, I'm a firm believer that this Chelsea midfield is to be built around Moises Caicedo because I think he is that good of a footballer. So, I want to basically put out a couple of the tweets here that you guys have sent to me about your thoughts on Caicedo. Aside from his back passes, which are frustrating, he's been good defensively. I can agree with that, and we're going to go into details in a moment about why the back passes happen and how there is a player still at Chelsea who might be able to help us with this. Point number 2, hasn't been used properly, to be honest, I'd agree, and he is still showing his quality. Needs to be used in that Jorginho pivot, / turn, and carry or pass forward role to easily shine. Let's keep going. He hasn't been bad at all. In fact, he's been quite good, but it does go unnoticed. Unfortunately, last few games he's been improving in terms of winning the ball back, but he just needs to be more progressive with the ball rather than just passing back and sitting deep. One of the issues I've seen with Chelsea, even when we've been playing well the past couple of games, is that gap between Caicedo and it was Enzo and Gallagher yesterday. It was Enzo and Palmer in the game against Middlesbrough. At the moment, the ball is going around that back four all the time. It's kind of like a ship swaying from side to side as we try and get the ball from one fullback to the other fullback. And it is a very monotonous process. Chelsea are very predictable. And in order for Caicedo to utilise what I think is underutilised from him right now, is that ability to play those line-breaking passes, to get the ball in front of the defence and start moving players forward. I'm talking here about your fullbacks, but then Caicedo driving the ball forward and making those passes between the lines to transition Chelsea from defence into the attacking phase. We need to see more of this from Caicedo, but just to finish off here, slow start, granted, but is settling in well in partnership with Enzo. Chelsea dominate possession, and that shows you how good they are progressing. The only problem is we don't have a finisher. If only Kerry Dixon was around in this era. I absolutely concur and agree with everything that you've said there. FM chairman, sounds legit, mate. But I will say this, Enzo Fernandez also, I criticised massively over Christmas, and I stand by everything I said at the time in which I said it over Christmas. Enzo was slow, he was looking flat, and then we found out it was a sports hernia. Since then, he's been magnificent. He's had a fantastic January when it comes to performances, which is why all of a sudden now, the balance of the Chelsea midfield seems to be shifting. It's not anymore just about Gallagher's working really hard, Gallagher's showing heart and passion. Now we're actually looking at talented footballers here. Now, with Enzo Fernandez, first of all, I want to see the responses to what are your thoughts on Conor Gallagher. Then we can talk about how this midfield moves, because I still haven't thrown in there what I think the Chelsea solution is. Stay tuned to the end of the video to find out what that is. What do you think about Conor Gallagher? Bowley-bot 420. Don't know if this is a real human or not. He's got massive potential. He works hard, presses well, tackles well, positionally is great. He needs to be a bit cuter with his passing and start getting some goals. But he's well deservedly being lauded as our best midfielder, which I think, to the contrary, so far this season, Gallagher's still been up there, at least right now in my opinion, level with Caicedo. Enzo's working his way up. Lacks technical ability, this is Gallagher, but has the one thing 90% of our squad don't, heart and passion. Now here is where we move forward and how Gallagher's position in the team, in my opinion, might actually not be as solidified as I initially believed a few weeks ago. I think the team's shape is better without him. To play as a 10 or an 8, you need to contribute goals, and Conor does not. I'm not saying sell him, as he should be competition for Enzo and Caicedo, but Carney or Palmer are better where he plays. There's also a lot of talk about Enzo and how, I'm going to read this response out to you here as well from Raul Urrutia. Average player with PR. So many excuses are made for him. Poch is using him wrong. He's a deep line midfielder. His job is not to score or assist. We didn't buy him for that. All that to avoid the fact that he's simply mid. Blah, blah, blah. At this moment in time, I'm going to put up some more tweets that you guys responded about Enzo Fernandez now. But I want to caveat this here. When you think about how young this team are, and I know I've been going in on the fact that they're all so young, blame the recruitment, but you can't fault the players for how old they are. Caicedo, more than coming into his own. Enzo, all of a sudden, coming into his own. And I think for Chelsea, there is a solution here to this midfield that I genuinely think, when you bring it back to what our man said here about the pivot, I think Caicedo needs Lavia next to him in front of that back four. I think if Moises Caicedo gets some time with Romeo Lavia, I think not only then does he have that protection where he doesn't necessarily just have to sit in that little pocket. You look in here, he's touching the ball a lot. Every single game, Moises Caicedo, this is the average throughout the season. And I do agree with the comments that have been made about Gallagher in terms of there isn't any end product right now. Yes, he's working hard. Caicedo's got the legs. Lavia, when he's fit, he's got the legs. And Enzo can then be that player that can slow the game down and make that pass. And I think at the moment, what I think I've been wanting Enzo to be, that he's not been, is Fabregas. Enzo is not Cesc Fabregas, but I was believing earlier this season that Enzo could have been. And I think with Lavia and Caicedo there as a pivot in front of a Chelsea back four, I think we could start to see more end product from Enzo Fernandez, which by default means that Conor Gallagher ends up going down to the bench. And it's only been the last couple of games where I'm looking and I'm going deeper into some stats on Caicedo. I'm thinking about, when was the last time I saw Caicedo have a really bad game? And I'm like, you know what? This guy is the real deal. This guy deserves the praise, and Pochettino, rightly so, needs to be building around Caicedo. And I know that we need more goals, but look, I've harped on in a negative light about how our finishing's so bad. We desperately need Osimhen. We desperately need a striker. It's all negatives until it happens, because we will keep missing chances. We will keep not scoring goals. But blimey, is this midfield going to be something special for Chelsea moving forward? I do also think we should keep Gallagher. I don't want Gallagher sold, but I am entertaining a world now where he isn't as focal as maybe he has been all this season, because he does need to contribute goals and assists. And when you look at Caicedo, Lavia, Enzo, there isn't goals and assists in there either. In terms of balance though, and quality, I absolutely think we've got it in abundance. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. Wanted to make this video today specifically after that Villa game, because I think Caicedo deserves a bit more praise. If the general media that want to keep reminding us of how slow his start was because of a bad performance at West Ham, let them do that. We're proper Chelsea here. We love this football club. And even though we've been tough on the manager, the players, the finishing, everything, I've been tough on it, but I'm seeing positives. We beat Borough 6-1. We played well for 65 minutes against Villa, had 3 days rest, they had 12. I'm not going to turn my nose up at it. Let me know your thoughts on this video in the comments down below. Come on, you Blues.